Is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Back here, first things first, now hanging with Super Bowl champ Greg Jennings. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Jim.
All right, here we go. Time for us to go viral. This is a good one. On Saturday, the St. Louis Battlehawks dominated the New York Guardians, coming away with a 29-9 win. And these guys knew how to celebrate. Okay, so check this out. This is Jake Cade ripping the top off a beer can with what?
That's dangerous.
The teeth. Smashing the can on where? After it is guzzled totally? His noggin. I just feel like on so many levels, both from a dental standpoint and from a cranium standpoint, this is just bad decisions all around. That's my take. I wanted to get it out there. Go ahead.
I've never seen that part. The beer smashed on the head thing, that happens. We've seen that. And I open beer bottles,
not
with my back teeth.
You can cut your whole mouth
open. But the can I've never seen done. But you've been in these locker rooms.
I've been in these locker rooms. I've never seen that. I've seen it back in the day when guys are celebrating with cigarettes and they're just sitting at their lockers. It's like
way back in the day.
It's like the XFL is opening up.
I like it.
It's cool because these are grown men. This is how they celebrate. This is what they want to do. Let them do it.
I will. Let me give a little bit of critique. If you're going to go super ultimate tough guy with it by ripping it open with your teeth, if you saw in the video there, he kind of went a little, I can't do his full cup of coffee.
Sideways.
Side of the can.
Yeah.
You got to go full
frontal?
Yeah, end of the can against your forehead. If you squeeze a little bit on the sides, it'll crunch easier.
Are you making a comment on his toughness, on his brutality?
I'm just saying he could have. It's a 7.5 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
7.5 out of 10 on the tough guy
I
scale.
remember that when we're out drinking with cans of beers, me and you, Nick.
No problem.
Time for stories to start your morning. So LeBron James hit a clutch jumper in the closing seconds to help the Lakers edge out the Celtics yesterday. After the game, LeBron went to the gram to post, quote, "Absolutely live for these moments." Nick, what'd you take away from this game?
Well, listen, the Lakers are clearly the best team in the Western Conference. They clearly have the best player in the Western Conference. And this was a great moment for LeBron because why were they in this spot instead of being tied with the Celtics having the ball, down one where the Lakers have the ball? So he missed a free throw. And there is right now one hole in LeBron's game, and it's a glaring one, and it's free throw shooting. It's not late game free throw shooting. It's all game free throw shooting. But he made up for it last night with a move that he said he had been setting up all game. He'd been drop stepping Jaylen Brown all game, so he knew he'd go for it. He said he did a little dream shake there. It's a little dream shake-esque, and hit what ended up being the biggest shot of the game.
You're 100% accurate on this. As a player, anytime you are struggling with something, and LeBron clearly is struggling with this free throw shooting, you have to rely on another phase of your game. And to get to his spot, and he talked about, I wanted to get to my spot. We drew up a play that I was comfortable with that would get me to my spot. And he had a shot that he was so comfortable with, it looks like he knew it was going in before it left his hands. You got to have that from your stars.
100%.
All right, moving on to Zion Williamson, who had yet another great game last night. 28 points on 13 for 20 from the field to help the Pelicans take down the Warriors. The rookie, Zion, averaging 23 points and 7 boards through 12 games of work. Nick, how impressive was Zion yesterday?
I mean, it was a pretty typical Zion Williamson game. Extraordinary. We're at 47th and 6th, Jenna, right?
We are.
In New York City. All right, care of Fox FS1, first things first, to Nick Wright. I'm taking written apologies for all the people, all the shade thrown at me by my colleagues in the industry when last year, while Zion was at Duke, I said he's already one of the 25 best players in the world. Already, he is showing you now in a partial season coming off an injury against this toughest competition. He is without question already one of the 25 best players in the world. I'm not even surprised, or it's like, oh yeah, another typical Zion game, super high efficiency. No one can stop him from getting to his spots.
Yeah, I love everything about what he's doing because he's not doing anything outside of what he does great right now. We all know what he needs to work on. He knows what he needs to work on. But right now, in game, he's not going to work on that. He has the offseason to stay healthy, get better at dribbling, get better at, being a perimeter player and having a perimeter presence from the three-point line. But do what you do well and do it effectively. That's what he's doing.
I've also watched more Pelicans games this year than I ever have in my entire life.
Of course. He's not as good as Anthony Davis was. Not yet, but he's a bigger draw than Anthony Davis was.
All right, on to the most hyped heavyweight fight in years now. Wilder Fury 2, the rematch. And this time, Tyson Fury was able to do what he couldn't do the first time around. Fury knocked down Wilder with a right in the third. Then 2 rounds later, did it again, this time with a body shot. And finally, in the 7th, Wilder's corner had enough, throwing in the towel for Fury. An unbelievable comeback story ends in victory. Nick, how surprised were you with how this fight went down?
Listen, I was shocked. It cost me a bucket of money. I was watching. I had bet the fight before I left the country with my friends at Fox Bet. I then, of course, while I'm out of the country at a nice little international gambling establishment, the fight's about to come on. I bet the fight again because I thought Deontay Wilder was going to win. And not only did he not win, Greg, he got annihilated. That fight was over in the 3rd round. He was out on his feet in the 3rd round. And then from that moment forward, you had to start to be pretty concerned for him. There was a moment in the 5th round where I said to my wife, who was watching with me from the spot where we were, that if he doesn't get knocked out, and I didn't think he was going to get knocked out because Wilder's so tough and he kept getting up. This is the type of fight that changes the trajectory of your career, does damage to you that you do not recover from. And it went on a couple rounds after that. I thought what Fury did, and listen, I am not an X's and O's boxing analyst, but I love the sport. I've always loved the sport. We don't talk about it because there's not often fights quite this big. What Fury was able to do in identifying clearly before the fight where Wilder's defensive weaknesses were, exploiting them. Fury switching up his stance a few times mid-fight, then switching back. Wilder had no answer and was just, I thought Fury won every single round. You could argue maybe Wilder barely won the 2nd, but probably not. It was a total, thorough domination that the only critique I would have had is it maybe should have ended earlier. That the corner maybe should have thrown the towel earlier, it should have been called earlier, because Wilder was done by the middle of the 4th round without any question.
I was thoroughly surprised, and I was more surprised from a standpoint of this. Boxers, I'll just look at Wilder. Wilder, he's a puncher. Fury, he's a boxer. And we saw him box, and we saw Wilder try to punch a boxer. And what I didn't like is when you possess so much skill, so much talent, so much power in your punches, it forces you to rely on that more than it does anything else. And what I mean by that is I didn't see Wilder come out wanting to be a boxer and honing his craft. And that's, as an athlete, as a competitor, you know, and Fury knew it. Going into it, we saw him pre-game, we saw him leading up to the fight. He was so comfortable and so relaxed because he knew, dude, I got it. There's so much that I've studied and watched that I am going to outbox this guy. Which is
amazing because, I mean, obviously neither of these guys had ever lost. It's not like he was fighting a guy who someone else had exploited these weaknesses against. The only time Wilder hadn't won a fight was the one against Fury the last time.
Yes.
When Wilder, I thought, knocked him out cold in the 12th round, and then Fury did the Undertaker at the 6th count and somehow got up to salvage the draw.
All right, we saw the match. We saw the rematch. How badly do you want to see these guys do this again for a 3rd time?
I'm really curious what you think about this, Greg, because going into this fight, I would have said there is nothing that could happen that would not make me want to see part 3. That if one of them gets knocked out in the 1st round, if it goes no matter what, I'm going to want to see part 3 because nobody could be up 2-0 because the first one was a draw. So we would need a part 3. Man, I watched this and I said, I'll watch it if there is, but I don't think there's a need for a 3rd.
No. To see it.
And Wilder, I know, can activate an option to get a 3rd, to get a rematch. It was in the fight contract. Man, if I'm Wilder's people, you got to find a reason to not do it, an explanation. And by the way, I do not like Tyson Fury at all, and I adore Deontay Wilder. His story is amazing. I sat with him and talked with him 6 years ago at the Super Bowl, right when he had, yeah, it was 6 years ago. It was a long time ago, when he was kind of coming on it. I love him. But he can't, this is, what we saw Saturday night There is no reason to believe it would go differently if they fought 10 times. Unless you hit him. It's heavyweight boxing, so you can always hit him with one. But, I mean, to me, Fury was that dominant that I don't know that we even need a third one.
Yeah, I'm with you. He was so tactical, Fury was, to where you don't believe that there's anything that Deontay Wilder could do to surmount that, to trump it. And for me, it's Wilder knew it. Wilder knew it the entire fight, specifically from the second round on. It was like, oh, shoot, I have to get a paw on this guy or I'm not going to be able to beat him. And you could see it, you could sense it, and once Fury senses it, once your competitor senses it, it's over.
It's over.
And I truly believe, like you, there is no need for a third fight.
And I remember when the Niners played the Packers in the regular season, and I came here on the show the next day and I said, the Packers can make the Super Bowl, but they need someone to beat the Niners for them. I then foolishly picked the Packers to beat the Niners because I'm an idiot. But there was just what one team was good at. So listen, for Wilder, Fury Joshua is now the fight everyone wants to see.
Yep.
It would be the biggest fight in the history of British boxing. Would unify all the belts. What Wilder in his heart, whether he'll say it is not, is hoping Anthony Joshua win that fight, and then Wilder takes in and takes on Joshua, and maybe that's stylistically different. I don't see how Wilder can overcome what just happened on Saturday against Fury.
All right, we're going to switch.